Okay, we are live now.
Very good.
Hello, Alan. Welcome. Please unmute yourself. Okay.
Hello, Dr. Rafai.
Hi, how are you? Hi.
I'm fine.
Good to
Thank
see you again.
Yeah, it's a
Always,
great pleasure.
always.
Yeah,
Always
great
good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Bea.
I think we're all here.
Hi,
Good
Alan.
morning.
Hi.
Good evening.
Hi, Taleb.
Hello, Alan. Hi.
Hello,
how are you?
Taleb. How are you?
It's been a while. It's been a while, Alan.
I know.
It takes Reza to bring us together.
As long as we
Thank
stick
you.
together, we can change the world.
Yeah. Yes. Of course. Of course. Of course.
Reza, I think I will start again.
Yes, please.
Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Women's Voices in Tourism Part 2. Now, this is a three-part series. We already had part 1 last month, and our speakers talked about creating tours for women, by women. They talked about what it's like to travel in this world as a female by herself. We even approached some uncomfortable topics like human trafficking. And we're going to continue along this theme, and our next one is in May. But this time, we have a broad cross-section of professionals in the tourism industry that are going to address topics quite similar. What it's like to be a woman, what it's like to be a woman traveler in the Middle East, what it's like to be a Black traveler in Africa. And our speakers today are a broad cross-section of the different time zones of this planet. Now, this particular group of conferences is of course inspired by the work of IIPT, the International Institute of Peace to Tourism. And underneath that umbrella are all of the concerns that will make travel a more equal and more wonderful and happy experience for all, and also result in a better economy in the countries that are affected, which is every country in the world. One thing we know and we've mentioned is that the tourism industry is full of women, a higher percentage than men, but many of them are holding lower echelon positions in this whole profession. So this is something where we want to look at some of the problems, some of the challenges, some of the issues, and work towards a solution. And sometimes revealing the problems is the best way. Now, I'm going to introduce our first speaker, who is a friend of mine that I've known for some time. An illustrious career. I knew him as the Minister of Tourism of Seychelles, and he is now the president of the African Tourist Board. And in between, he helped start the Vanilla Islands of the Indian Ocean. And to me, one of the most admirable things is the energy that he created to make carnival in Seychelles. He created something that, well, how can we bring people to the Seychelles that's different from anywhere else? And he created an international carnival that didn't exist anywhere else. So of course it attracted people there, and it did increase the economy and the investment in Seychelles and its ultimate success. So Elaine is going to address, as the head of the African Tourist Board, the issues and challenges of women, particularly in Africa. So Elaine Saint-Ange, I give the floor over to you.
Thank you very much, Bea. Thank you for your kind words. Good afternoon or good evening, everybody. Seychelles is already early evening. And Bea managed to catch me right, because from here I'll go to the airport and I'm flying on to Indonesia, where I'm working with the Indonesian private sector to relaunch tourism on some of their islands. But today it's a worthwhile conference that we are attending, all of us together. As I salute the former Secretary General of the UNWTO, Dr. Rifai, Kitty Pope, who is a good friend of mine, I want to say that the voice of women in tourism is there, is present. But is it enough? We will always say no when we look at the simple phrase, is it enough? And can more be done? Yes, more can always be done. When I salute people like Bea or Kitty and the other ladies on the panel today, I must realize that women have already made their mark in tourism. Even in Africa, where I sit with Dr. Rifai on the African Tourism Board panel, we realize that we've got some key women personalities that sit with us, that work with us, and that guide tourism for the African continent. But it is never enough. We need more. We know that when a woman gets involved in this industry, as in the other facets of the world at large, we know that they take much more detail, much more emphasis to detail into what we are doing. And I'm sure Dr. Rifai will reinforce that we have some key partners in the African Tourism Board that are women and that always keep us in line, keep us in check in what we are meant to be doing for the good of Africa and its tourism industry. Tourism is not a one-man show. It will never be. If Bea spoke about the Carnival International de Victoria, it is because I try to bring the world together, to say that together we can make a difference. If today, as we sit here, we realize that recognizing women, giving them their rightful place, and then working with them as one, we will have a better tourism industry and a better world. We let little things divide us, but we don't look at the big things that can unite us. And this is what we need, a unifying call amongst ourselves to be able to tell the world we are ready to work as one. The world is so divided. Today, if you listen to the world news, you see the challenges taking place between the European bloc and Russia. Everybody is finding his own feet. But if we put away the differences, and if we said to ourselves, we have one world that is trying to come out of a pandemic that has affected the whole tourism industry, and with it, all the airline sector, and with it, the economy of the world. If we say, let us look at what can help make it better, instead of looking at the little things that divide us, we will find that we are able to reposition the women of the world in tourism, give them their rightful voice. I follow what Bea does on her own in Canada and in the States, and know that when they do it well. The African diaspora, led by Kitty Pope, is another classic example of where women, when given their chance to operate and given their chance to maneuver, can make so much for the world of tourism at large. I salute those organizing this Women's Voices in Tourism today. It is such an important topic. Let us move away from discrimination. Let us move away from looking at a weaker sex or weaker gender. This does not exist. We are all equal on this platform, and we should all work as one to make the world a better place. I thank you all and wish you good deliberations. Thank you very much.
Elaine, thank you so much for your very inspiring words. I was looking yesterday at the International Institute of Peace Through Tourism's website, and I did notice there's a lot that celebrates women, and there's awards that are celebrating women. And I know for a fact that you worked with a lot of women in the Seychelles, and they were doing an incredible job and definitely treated as equal beings. So, and now you are running off to Indonesia, I think, to start up something there. Yes. So you never stop.
The day you stop, the way you become, you fade away when you stop. It is better to keep going and to share your experiences.
Well, thank you so much. And I would like to also recognize at this point that we do have Taleb Rafai here with us. And we all looked at his wonderful career at UNWTO and are so thankful that he's involved with Peace Through Tourism as well, and the African Tourist Board. So these are all steps in a fantastic direction that conferences like this are hoping to move forward as well. So our next speaker, Elaine has mentioned, Kitty Pope, is someone I met in Seychelles. And she's the founder and publisher of africandiaspora.com and has done a lot for women. So let's give the floor over to Kitty Pope.
Hi there, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
Everything
you
is
can hear
fine.
me okay? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, I am the publisher of African Diaspora Tourism. I started my career as a travel editor for a magazine. And after that, during that career, I noted that there were not many Black people or women in the tourism industry as writers. I myself was a writer and an editor. So that's the reason I formed African Diaspora Tourism. African Diaspora Tourism is dedicated to exploring the culture and heritage of people of African descent all around the world, mainly in the places of the African diaspora, which includes the Caribbean, the US, Brazil, which has the largest population of Black people. And the diaspora, for those who are not too familiar with the word, it refers to people living outside of Africa, and mainly due to the transatlantic slave trade. But there are people living outside of Africa who migrated to different places for different reasons. And these people I include explore. When we do our exploration, we are in contact with the people all over the world who are of African descent. Now, the website African Diaspora Tourism is dedicated to um, just exploring and bringing to the public some of the aspects of Black lifestyle, of Black culture, and Black heritage. What we do is we visit some of the sites and we work hard to promote the sites. We write about them, we do broadcast segments about these places in the African diaspora that are related to the history and culture of the people of African descent. Now, I also formed the International Association of Black Travel Writers before I did African Diaspora Tourism, because as an editor with the magazine, when I did the trips to different countries, I noticed that there were not many Black people doing travel writing. And that's why I formed the Black Travel Writers. And I felt that it was needed because a lot of times, like everything else, I hate to say, um, things related to Black people or their culture and their heritage are left out. People don't know about them. And not only do Black people want to explore the heritage, there's a whole lot of non-African people, non-Black people who love to learn about the culture and heritage of Black people. So I just love doing what I'm doing because it's so very much needed. Learning about each other's culture, I believe, will um, help to promote understanding between people and cultures. So therefore, African diaspora tourism is doing a job in as far as bringing people together, promoting peace, and helping people to have an understanding of each other's culture. Now, women in travel, Black women in travel, there's a whole lot of Black women in travel. In majority of travel writers are Black women, and that's a good thing. The Black travel market right now is very huge, in the billions. I'm not sure of this exact number, but I think in 2019, it's reported that Black people spend about $100 billion in travel, and that's a whole lot of money. So that's a market that I work to try to get the and corporations and businesses, and without spending that much, it's very impactful. Now, as I mentioned, women, Black women as travel writers, very prevalent. Black women are also founders and heads of many Black travel organizations in general, as well as global tourism networks. So Black women are good at bringing things together. Therefore, it's good that we are very prevalent in the in the travel market in general. Now, women organize. Women do the group tours. A lot of the Black travel is done with changed a whole lot. We're going to conferences. We're going to sporting events, and we're also traveling just to visit some of the cultural heritage sites. So cultural heritage, Black women in general, most likely to visit the cultural heritage site. Traveling alone, women have to be
I am not hearing her well. I don't know about the
Kitty's
others.
cutting out from time to time.
Yes.
Kitty, are you still there?
book. I don't know how many of you have heard of the Green Book from the 60s. It's the man, I can't even remember his name. But anyway, he did a Green Book magazine that told people where to go and what not to go. It told them what places were not friendly toward Black. You know, back then in the days where Black people were attacked or maybe even mistreated and sometimes even killed. So that's why he came up with the Green Book. And
This is unfortunate that Kitty is cutting in and out.
conferences and making sure that the places that we visit are what we call Green Book ready. That
Maybe Kitty, you should turn off your camera so then the quality will be better because we have difficulty to hear you sometimes.
to participate in travel tours. And
Kitty,
Black women are very instrumental.
excuse me,
Can
Kitty.
you hear me? Yes, can you hear me?
You know what, Kitty, it turns out that you're cutting in and out. And
Oh
Rez
my
was
God, I'm sorry. I don't know, I'm not.
He was just suggesting that if you can turn off your video, then maybe the whole thing, we can hear your audio better.
You may have a slow internet connection, then maybe the reason. I know.
Women being change agents and keepers of our culture and heritage. And Black women promote tourism also because, you know, once they go on a trip, if they're not travel writers, if they're not broadcast journalists in tourism, they tell other people about it.
Kitty, can you hear me? If you can turn off your video so that we can just hear your audio, then I think it'll be more clear. It's unfortunate. It's a very bad connection.
Yeah, I think she's gone. So maybe later on she can come in again. Maybe.
Okay. We can maybe, can you perhaps chat that to her so that she sees
Sure.
it? That'd be lovely. Thank you. At this time, I'd also like to acknowledge that Fabio Carboni is along with us. He is the head of the International Institute of Peace through Tourism for Iran. So it's just lovely to have you on board. And I know that the president, Louis D'Amour, if he isn't joining us, he always listens to it afterwards. So hello to you as well. This is certainly an inspiration underneath your umbrella. So I think we'll hope to hear from Kitty a little bit later in this presentation, but now we're going to move along to Dr. Rafa Khalifa Haddad, and she has got some interesting stories as somebody who has been a tour guide in Jordan for a number of years. And I hear tell that she says 69 of 800 Jordan guides are female, and all the rest are male. And she can talk about some of the social cultural factors that leave women sometimes at a disadvantage. So let's put the floor over to Dr. Rana Haddad.
Thank you, Bia. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for everyone. I am Dr. Rafa Haddad, originally from Jordan, but I'm living right now in Bahrain. I work at the University of Bahrain. I will start from a point that I will take from Kitty, that we should understand our culture. And the problem begins when we discover that we do not really understand our own culture. I will talk about my experience as a female tour guide in Jordan. First of all, it's important to talk a little bit about our culture in Jordan. I was grown up in an open-minded family. I did not notice these gender issues or cultural issues, but I always heard my mom saying that when you were born, I was the fifth girl in the family, my grandparents started crying. Sometimes crying is because of happiness, not always sadness. But later on, I discovered that they were crying because I was not a boy, I was a girl. The story started there. I did my studies at the university, and it was not my choice. I wanted to be a lawyer, but my parents found that studying French, it will be good, you will be a teacher, and this is a good role for you. I'm talking about the 90s. I lost the first battle against them, and I went on studying modern languages. But studying French opened new doors for me. I started looking at the world around me, and the professors who taught me were mainly from France. And they opened a new door for a new career for me. I started thinking about tourism. Tourism in the 90s was a male job. We were around 5 female guides among 700 male guides. So I faced challenges on all levels and from all people around. It started with my family who were against this. My mom could not understand how could I do this type of job. First of all, you will sleep outside the home. You will be alone. You will mingle with other people. You will mingle with tourists. They will wash your brain. You will have new ideas, new things that are not popular to our culture and society. I insisted for a whole year. I was nagging for a whole year that I wanted to be a tour guide. At the end of the year, my parents were tired. They said, just go ahead, do whatever you want to do. Just go ahead. They had headache from me. So I went and took the training course and ran to the tourism market. I was dreaming that it would be really an easy thing to do, an easy job for me. I knocked tens of travel agents and tour operators' doors. This was in 1995. And it was, no, we can't. And I was surprised why they can't hire me, why they are not giving me groups to work with. Later on, I discovered that it was a matter of trust. They don't trust us as females. They were asking me, are you sure that you can handle a group of 50 persons together? Are you sure that you can manage this? We can't believe it. You are only 23 years old. I went back home and I was really very frustrated. I went for a whole month. At the end of the first month, a tour operator called me and they said, one of the guides is sick. Can you come please and take this group? It was 3 days with a British group from the UK. I worked as I have never done. it was a hard work. I wanted to show them that I am professional. I can do it. Don't look at me as a female. Look at me as a human being, that I can do what other people can do. At the end of the 3 days, it was an excellent experience for me and for the group. They sent the first recommendation for the tour operator. I waited another month and no answers from anyone. The third month, it was signing the peace treaty with Israel, and we had tourists. So they had to find tour guides, regardless of their gender, females or males. And it was my chance. I started working as a French English tour guide with international tourists. And fortunately, after 6 months, the biggest tour operator in Jordan, it was Petra Tours. They called me and they said, we will be glad if you can reserve or book yourself for the next season. We want you in our company. I said, I can't sign a contract. I want to be a freelance. I want to be independent. They said, okay, we have no problem. Just please don't take groups from other travel agents. So I overcame the first challenge, which was my family. The second challenge, which was travel agents and tour operators. And now it was my colleagues. We were only 7 girls at that time, and there were around 700 guides in Jordan. It was considered a male job, and it was not really accepted by the local culture and the local people to see a woman working with strangers or with foreigners. It was the same for colleagues who looked at us in a different way. We are aliens. We are not from this country. How can she do this? I kept a social distance just to protect myself. And I went on my job. I needed around 3 years to build good contact with these male colleagues, and I could work with them. Fourthly, it was the local community, and the hardest was the southern area of Jordan, which is the desert area. For them, the woman is a housewife. She should take care of her kids, of her children, and do the household responsibilities. She should not be here. I cried a lot. I think every time I visited Wadi Rum in Jordan, I used to cry. It was really a harsh and hard experience. They did not treat me badly, but they ignored me. They ignored my existence. For example, if I want to reserve cars or jeeps for the groups I had, they just ignored me and turned around, and they did not talk to me. But it's my job here. It's my work. I'm not here as a tourist. I'm here as a woman who is doing her job. It took me around 1 year to build the bridges with them. And building bridges is very important in life. If you can't build the bridges with your own people, with your own culture, you can't build the bridges between your culture, your people, and the tourists. You know, I changed my hair, I changed my clothing style. I tried the maximum just to adapt to their environment and to the local culture in the southern area of Jordan. When we went in the jeeps and in the cars, I started picking woods with them. Let's make a cup of tea, a herbal, delicious cup of tea. And the story started there. We used to make the fire, to make the tea, and later on they became real good friends. I built strong relations with them, and we had really the best memories with the tourists, drinking this herbal tea and enjoying the sunset in Wadi Rum. During my job as a tour guide and as a female, I met hundreds of women. I met Jordanian women, I met Bedouin women, I met tourists from all around the world. And I started comparing between the women in Jordan and the women in other countries. Let's say the bright side of the moon and the shaded side of the moon, the side that we don't see. When we look at the moon, we know that there's another side, but nobody knows its features. And it was the same for me. I saw the bright side from foreigners who came to Jordan. They were independent, they could work, they could go outside, they could travel freely without any problem. And I looked at women in my country. Nobody can argue that Jordan is a collectivist and patriarchal country. The male authority is very clear there. And I was trying to make these voices heard in the world, but through my job, I couldn't do it. We didn't have social media in the 90s. All we had were these small phones, small funny phones right now. So it was really very, very hard job to make these women known all around the world, to show what are they living, to show their suffer, and how can we help these women. Fortunately, French tourists, they helped me. they guided me to go on and carry my studies. I did my master's in Sweden. I did my PhD in the UK. Moving to the UK was a new challenge for me, but it was not as hard as to the challenges I lived in my country. There, I researched women business owners in Jordan. I researched home-based, micro, and small business owners of women who work in handicraft. The findings were really amazing. It was not religion, it was tradition. The power and the influence of tradition was very strong and very negative. Most of these women who succeeded in their jobs, they got a divorce, unfortunately, because they wanted to go on. And for them was money was independence, gaining income was independence for them. And this was not really a funny thing for their husbands or their male members, such as brothers and fathers. They want to stay under the authority of the male in the family. This is the norm in Jordan. Other female business owners, they could not fight. They went on working, but under the control and the power of males in the family. What I was happy about, and I thank God that I could write this big thesis, a thesis that showed that traditions, norms, and customs, they play a very negative role, and they have a very negative influence in women business owners, which are part of the Jordanian society and a representative part of the society. And I speak in particular about women who live in villages and in the desert areas, not in big cities. I'm still working on research and working in these challenges and barriers facing these women business owners. I will not stop until I make the voice of the last one in Jordan heard all around the world. Thank you for listening, and thank you for the organizers.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Beautiful.
much, Rafa. And I wonder if I could just ask you though, like, what do you see as a path to moving forward in this? What can make this better? I mean, one thing I know is you working in this field, but how can this move beyond just 69 out of 800 women being tour guides?
And there's, I think, half of the number of 69 are not originally Jordanians. They are European women who are married to Jordanian, so they can do a job. I think the most important is to empower the woman. Empowering the woman is to have her own job and to be financially independent. When she gets money, it's the first step towards the freedom. This is very important.
I guess that's true here too. You know, I brought to mind my sister in all of this because she was the first female mechanical engineer graduate out of her university in Canada. And she wrote a thesis on the K-cycle engine and one on airplane metal fatigue that I think is still being used. But she would put her hair back and wear a suit. And I would say, Bev, celebrate the fact that you're a woman in this. But she would want to hide into, you know, trying to fit in with the men so that she could fit in. And
yes, I understand. Yeah, I understand. We passed through this. If it's a male job, the things you face, no one could imagine really. And the way you protect yourself and from any possible incidents, it's unbelievable. You have to do the maximum just to go on and succeed.
Well, good for you. It's just wonderful that you're there doing what you're doing. So thank you very much. What I'd like to do at this point is get back to Kitty. Now, Kitty, you were breaking up. We couldn't see you. It was like freezing. So Reza was suggesting that if you turn your video part off, if you turn the camera off and just have your audio, that you probably have enough bandwidth that we'll be able to hear you. So there were some really important things you were saying. Where I stopped hearing you was actually an answer to one of the questions I had for you, and that is, you started up this group of Black travel writers, and I was just wondering how many of them were female.
I would say 80%. I would say, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I would say about 80%. And these were females, but from all over the world, as well as me, and mostly women, I said, about 80%. We had representation in Europe, a few in Africa, the Caribbeans, Canada, So the Travel Writers Group has done a whole lot towards promoting Black heritage sites, because Black heritage sites are very important to the culture so that everybody can learn about them. Right here in the US, Black heritage sites are being popping up all everywhere. And usually, sometimes that heritage site becomes the most visited place in the state or in that particular country. Now, I know the Martin Luther King Center right here in Atlanta is at one time, I don't know if it is now, the most visited place in the whole country. And it's number one. And the number two spot is the King Memorial in Washington, D.C. They have number one and number two. Both of these are Black cultural heritage sites. And women are being very instrumental, especially members of my Black Travel Writers Group, in promoting these and writing about the heritage sites. And not only do women write about the sites or do broadcasts about the sites, we just spread by word of mouth. Like when I go see a site and come back and tell some of my family members and some of my friends, that spreads. You know, you've heard that old saying that the best way to get something out is by word of mouth. So when women travel, you know, women are talkers. We talk about the places that we visit, and that does a lot to promote that tourism heritage site. So that's why it's important for each destination to consider Black women when trying to promote the particular heritage site. And I mentioned about the Green Book. We're making sure a lot of the destinations are what we call Green Book ready or friendly toward Black travelers, especially, and it's friendly toward women travelers. So African diaspora tourism coupled with the Black travel writers are very important in the travel industry in general. So if anyone has any questions for me, you know, go ahead. I guess this is okay, B, to allow people to ask me questions if they need to.
Yes, we're going to have a question and answer period at the end, but for you, I guess in a way to move this along too is we see what you're doing from the perspective of promoting the Black tourism, but how does this eventually affect the women in the African diaspora areas? What effects are you seeing? Because I'm imagining it has a positive effect if people are traveling to these places. It's going to increase the economy.
Right. Well, as I said, women are change agents and keepers of the culture. So it's important that we can, you know, include women in the tourism process, all of the things that the tourism industries are doing, because the women play a very important role as Black women.
Yes, they do. Okay, now is there anything else that you were saying earlier while you thought you were still on that maybe we didn't hear?
Women are bridge builders, they're peacekeepers, they're great organizers. So they bring a lot to the tourism industry. And it's good that they are being more accepted. Are being more included, women of the diaspora, in tourism organizations, tourism networks, and that's really making a difference. It's making a big difference in helping to boost the economy through the Black travel. And as I said, the Black travel industry is about $100 billion at least, and that was, I think, 2019.
Well, that's
So
impressive.
travel planners, organizations, networks should always consider having a Black woman as a part of what they're doing. It's very important.
Thank you, Kitty. I
Okay.
appreciate.
Yeah.
And if you're staying with us, there could be some questions at the end.
Okay. Yeah, I can stay for a while longer.
Interesting how all of these things involve baby steps. And I think our next speaker is going to be really addressing that, because Dr. Abir Saad Al Rumaya is from Kuwait, which is in total lockdown, and there's really no travel entities whatsoever. But I have a feeling that after she's done with it, there would be. So let's give her the floor right now.
Dr. Rumaihi.
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Thank you for introducing me. It's Arumay, right? You trying to do it in a good way, but it's difficult to pronounce. I want to first to give a brief background about myself. I had start my career as home economic high school teacher, with a dream I didn't know could be accomplished. I was not satisfied with my job, but you know, as sometimes you're thinking it's your job, you have to work, and you have to live your life. And luckily, I had a fortunate opportunity that I got an opportunity to study abroad, which was changed my entire life. But as I'm coming from a close-minded family, that was the for them that is not acceptable for women to travel alone. Even though I am married, I'm in 30, have children, but it was really a big issue to done this, to go travel alone to a foreign country. However, I try my best to convince my family that it will be the best offer my life. It's an opportunity that will not come again, can make difference, change my career, and especially that I will study a new field that we don't have many academic in Kuwait in this field, and maybe it will make the benefit for me as well as to my country. So I got it. I got to convert them by the end, and I got the scholarship to travel to UK to do my master and PhD in tourism and hospitality management, which was not an easy journey. I I was really terrified how I will go and start and adjust. It was long story and difficult in the meantime that especially I travel with three young children and left back my husband at home as he couldn't come with me because his obligation, family obligation, and his work. So I start my journey alone. For the first time, I went to a different culture. It's different. We are a conservative community, Eastern lifestyle to a Western community, different culture. I need to adjust, not only me and my children. There is a living style different. There is a language barrier. How can I do it? I can do this as alone. So it was a tough time to be for me to adjust in a new culture, communicate with other, live the life, being first of all a student in the university, then a mother, take care of three children, and after in the same time doing my research and my studies. So it was the big step for me when I go to Bournemouth University, and there I met my lovely friend, Dr. Rafa, who gave me this chance and introduced me to this lovely panel that I'm talking today, and give me the chance to present myself. It's my first time to talk about my journey, about my research, and wonderful organizing from all of you. So after I start my journey in studying tourism. It's really a big thing and different thing for me. Especially tourism is not well introduced in Kuwait. In Kuwait, we don't have much knowledge about tourism field, and is it Kuwait can be go in this direction, be as a destination, tourism and a destination or not. For that time until now, this idea is really not in the table for the government, because the Kuwait is depending on oil, and they satisfied for their depending, and they are not looking for alternative outcome, alternative income for them. So they don't trying to find sustainable outcome as a resource for the country. This question, I was trying to put it in mind, how to develop tourism in my country, how to put the image of Kuwait. There is opportunity, there is a lot of element can help to put Kuwait on the plan for tourism, but there is nobody nobody is trying to put it in front. So when I do my research, I met for the first time a wonderful lady who is Nabila Anjari. She was at that time working in tourism sector in Kuwait, but unfortunately after that she left, and she was having another career, because she didn't could to put the strategy that she and her team in front of the government to establish tourism in Kuwait. So I was thinking, how can we develop this and trying to make Kuwait as a tourist destination? It's really difficult, and unless we had a decision from the government, they can establish because we need a lot of effort to work. So I thinking for myself, I done my research. I trying to do it from the cultural view. I put the fact that there is so many social cultural impact for developing tourism, but in the same time there is also positive thing way to establish tourism. And also it's a chance to empower women to work in the tourism field, because it will open a lot of job opportunity for young people to work in tourism, either male or female, but also for female it will be a good chance that they are working in good position, even though they don't like the low job, but they can we can classify the jobs and we can put them in a position that they can work in it. All my dreams that is in working in tourism, and I got my degree and come back to Kuwait, but I couldn't first of all have much of it because I couldn't work in academic because we don't have at the moment we don't have any academic institution for tourism. So I work in education again, and education college, because I have my scholarship. I have to go back and work for the government, and in the education college, but to not my dream to finish or not to feel to have more satisfaction about myself. I tried to establish my own business, which is depending on day trip for culture tourism, especially for women. So we are doing groups of women to identifying the historical and cultural places in Kuwait and try to highlight it for the younger generation especially. I think tomorrow is will be better. Even it's now stopped because of the pandemic. My business stopped. I can't work anymore for this tour for the people. But I wish I will have better when it's this all over and we go back again for our normal life. Thank you. Thank you for having me and give me the time to talk.
I just wonder, what is your inspiration to tackle something that is such a challenge?
Sorry again.
I was wondering, what is your inspiration to continue to tackle something that is such a very challenging thing?
It's sometimes the feeling, even the feeling is different because you don't know what is will happen. Okay, so I don't know. Sometimes you have light that you are doing well and you can do it, and feeling only the challenge. It's become a good thing.
That's great. Thank you so much for your words, your point of view. It's very valuable. Our next speaker is Dr. Daisy Fan, and she's a senior lecturer on tourism and hospitality in the UK. And in her young years, she's discovered some interesting phenomena about female travelers. So welcome, Daisy Fan.
Hi, hello everybody. Really, it's my great pleasure to be here and share some of my thoughts or experiences with all of you. And I do believe this topic, women's voices in tourism, is really powerful and influential. So I'm really honored. So a little bit background about myself. I was born from in mainland China, the Harbin. I'm not sure if you know, it's a very northeast part of China. I had my bachelor in Beijing, my master and my PhD in Hong Kong PolyU. And after that, I moved to the UK to start my first academic job. Today, actually, my research focus is not about gender studies. I'm doing research about tourist behavior, social interactions, so that part. But I would like to share something about me or myself at this stage of career. So that's the so-called female ECRs, early career researcher. So I graduated from Hong Kong in 2016. Well, after I graduated, I actually stayed there for another year as a researcher. Well, I realized that, well, we all know as an ECR is quite challenging. And as a female ECR, I think it's even more challenging, I have to say. So when I was there, there are many newly entered PhD students, female students, just about to start their journey in academia. So they approached me, and actually we interact a lot, answering questions, and we try to chat with each other. And I noticed that the thing worried the most is not about academic things like how to publish or how to do research or etc. The thing worried the most is about their planning for their career or their lives stages. For example, many may ask, what's the good time to get married, have a baby, or is it easy to find a job if your baby is still very young or like 1 year old or 2. So a lot of things, or when to have a baby, there's even more questions like they have to carefully plan for their life even from very simple thing to different things. Someone even say, is that a wise choice to have a baby after you get your tenure, or after promotion in your first job, etc. So those kind of questions, really, I think that's the first time I feel being a female ECR can be quite stressful. So that's really something really remind me. Well, after that, I moved to work in the UK. And well, if you imagine a group of graduates of PhD, they all work together at a similar time in different institutions. So you're all doing very well and start to establish your career little by little. And suddenly you get the news that you get pregnant, maybe, yeah? Well, the news itself is a very good news for you and your family. But if you're considering about a female ECR's career, that could be a disaster, I have to say. Well, there's just 1 year you prepare for that. After that, you may have some, maternity leave, no matter from 2.5 months, 6 months, or even 1 year, depending on the systems. So that sometimes you need to temporarily be away from your work and fully involve in your family. And when you finish that, when you're back to your workplace, is that everything the same? How could you catch up? You need to re-enter your workplace, and you have to, meanwhile, taking care of the baby or family or etc. So it's really, when you think about it, even just think about it, it could be very stressful or anxious, isn't it? And don't even mention about, your colleagues. You used to be the same, right? And you do the similar thing, but now after 1 or 2 years development, they are getting a very smooth, bright, very smooth future, a very clear future. But you have to re-enter in the system, and you need to face a lot of difficulties. So that's something I think I could see around me. Is there a community of female ECRs? There's a lot of questions, confused, and also sharing, helping each other. But actually, it's still a very, very hard question, and we cannot really find a good answer to it. And what happened afterwards? Some people, some of the very young moms, they have to work from full-time to part-time. Or some of them, they have to sacrifice or give up in some research oriented work, do some more teaching oriented since they have prepared those material already. Or some of them they have to really give up their career. They get out of the higher education or getting depressed. There are actually, I have to say, there are several cases around me. Young mom who used to work in the higher education, they get depressed, they cannot get out. And this is a very competitive field in academia. So we want some help. Of course, there are some of the help from institutions. For example, maybe extend your year to evaluate your performance, or maybe some of the policies like maybe considering your maternity leave to lower your criteria or something like this. But actually, this is not really to solve the problems from the beginning. And what's important, we don't really just want to be normal or fairly good. Well, fairly good considering you gave birth to a baby. We still want to be excellent. But how could we get back and be excellent as the others? So that is the thing we want to think about. So what stops you from being excellent? If this thing is about gender, we need to talk about it. So that is something I want to share in this academic. Well, if I still have some time to share, I also want to share some of the areas I think I'm really interested in research recently. So it's about the senior female travelers. So there is very interesting news reported by the New York Times, and the title is very interesting. It's a Chinese auntie went on a solo road trip. Now she's a feminist icon in China. So this story is really very encouraging. So a 56 years old, like what we call auntie, maybe at that level, she's very tired of her family life. her family responsibilities. She's tired of that. So she decided to drive by herself, have a solo road trip. So this is really adventurous, considering about, you know, her cultural background and those deeply rooted norms for a senior female, you know, female travelers. That's really a pioneer. Maybe not many people could, you know, be so brave to do that. And she broadcast her trips in different kind of social media. And at the beginning, she thought she's the only one who's not happy in her family life or in her daily life. But after she posted online, she realized there are a lot of more people agree with her and support her behavior. So she started to realize that this is not about an individual. So more and more senior female, they should have the right and the time to go out to travel. Okay, so that is, I have to say, it might be different from the Western cultures, but in many of the Asian cultures, you know, maybe taking care of the children, and even more, if you are 60 or 70, taking care of the grandchildren is a huge family responsibilities for the senior female. This is really, really common. It's actually already a norm. If you are not taking care of them, it feels that why you're not doing this, you are not doing your part. That is about, you know, already a family and a social expectation for you. So, you know, those people who already realize they should have the right to go out, to enjoy their life. So she said she resigned from her family job. So she go out to try to travel for a while. So that's something really encouraged me. And also I think we should let more people to know this and to realize that regardless of gender, regardless of the age, they should go out if they want to enjoy the travel. So that's a little bit of sharing about myself and my research interest. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Daisy Fan. I was mentioning to you in our rehearsal yesterday that I'm seeing this to be a global phenomenon. And you're right, in the developed world, this is not uncommon. But in the developing world that you're discussing, people who are now becoming a little bit more economically liberated are able to go and travel, and they're free to go and travel. So you're talking about China. And we had a speaker last month that talked about the same phenomenon taking place in India, where women of a certain age are deciding that they've put all they're going to put into the family for now, or at least they want to take some time, 2 or 3 weeks for themselves to just take off and explore their country or another country. So that is quite interesting. And you're continuing to do research on this, correct?
Yeah, I'm going to. I haven't really, but I have a small research group, and we are all very interested in this topic. And yeah, and I have to say there's no right or wrong thing. It's just about culture. For some of the cultures, you know, people really want to do what they want, and there's no very tight, you know, social bond or like expectations on you. But for some of the cultures, it's long lasting. It's already there, but it may not really be fair or, you know, be the same for different genders. So we have to realize that, and I think we should do something to change the situation.
Interesting. I'm going to follow those studies for sure. Thanks again. And our next speaker is Dr. Ahmad Sheikhi. And from what I know of him, he started his career with an extreme interest in archaeology. And I'm kind of the same. I had a show on all the archaeological mysteries of the world, and it's fascinating. And I believe that it's led him to appreciate a lot of the artistic and artisanal contributions of women and their effect on tourism going forward. So let's welcome Dr. Ahmad Sheikhi.
Thank you very much for giving me this chance in order to talk about my research, and also this the good example from a very traditional community in Iran that is related to Baluchis ethnic groups, that they are living in south of Iran, and this area is not development like other part of Iran. and the women in this society have a very, very less visible in the community. Indeed, I have done my research with the topic of ethnic tourism, how ethnic tourism can make women more visible in these traditional ethnic communities in order to know about other culture and also have interaction with foreigner to know different role of women, because women don't have any footprint in this community. For example, if you walk in the street, you just can see very little women in the street. So mostly women dealing with household issues, and the man are responsible for outside of the house. So tourism made lots of change in this area from the beginning, because most of the tourists that traveling into this area, they are ethnic tourists. They looking to know other culture, practicing local culture, living with ethnic groups and know more about them. And that's that close interaction between tourists and also local community brought lots of change, lots of knowledge, lots of cultural change to local community, especially to women. I know we well know that most of the researchers in tourism say that we should care about local culture and never allow to change. But you know, women cannot always stay in the house, and they should do something. And the government also have done lots of job, lots of program in order to change this area, because man can marry with 3 or more women in this area, and so and they have lots of children and very less education and lots of contradiction, lots of problem, and we cannot keep this area in order to be authentic from changes. So we should try to find a very soft instrument in order to change this community in the positive way, especially for women. So tourism is the best way to help women in this area to have voice in the community. So the one village that is called Kalpuregan is a very good example. Man in this village never done nothing, but women have done lots of things. They keep, for example, a special pottery that is called Kalpuregan, that have very old story, like 7,000 years ago. And for example, this pottery by women, exclusively producing by women. And Baluchis women keep this unique form of pottery as a souvenir for tourists, and Kalpuregan pottery related to a prehistoric cultural heritage that is a reputed artwork of the Baluch ethnic group produced by women. Archaeological study show that they have protected this form of cultural heritage for thousands of years and transformed it from one generation to the next. And the finding of my research show that with this protection of cultural heritage as a souvenir for tourists, they show their footprint in the community. And through World Craft Council, recognize this village as a World Pottery Village and registered in 2019. So this is this event made lots of positive impact for women to hear the voice of women in the community, because before that the woman producing that art, but and providing to tourists and selling directly or indirectly, But when happened this, that the world recognized this village as a world pottery village, man respecting more to woman, because the woman with the art craft, they have done a great job for the community. And for example, they across the national border and come to the international community, and the World Craft Council accepted to register this village. And now more job created this event for the community, and women have more visibility in the community. And now a little bit for gender equality and gender issues, we try to find this platform to empower women more, to have more footprint in the community and also in other sector. But at the moment, this platform really made lots of change, and also international community respecting a lot to this kind of art crafts, and sending lots of recommendation in order to keep the authenticity of this area, this pottery, and also archaeologists also provide some suggestion in order to keep as authentic it is, in order to provide to the market. So this is a good example for the world, and the world know it now. And for example, Baluchis woman now a little bit trying to find other things too, and also they entered in the politics too. And indeed, tourism is the best way for traditional ethnic community, such as Baluchis, that they are divided from other ethnic groups. And the only way that is possible to make more interaction is tourism, not other kind of event or other things. So if you have any question, I will be happy to try to respond. Yeah.
Well, I think it's very fascinating. Thank you for unveiling this whole concept of the women artisans, the artists that are making things, that are making pottery. On so many levels, this is interesting, because anything is going to create tourism. I remember being at a lecture at the US Institute of Peace Through Commerce, not peace through tourism, but peace through commerce. And they were giving loans to anybody anywhere in the world to start any kind of business, any little widget or a pottery craft or anything, because they knew that as soon as you had this, you were going to hire a taxi driver to take someone to that place, or a hotel would be needed to hold the person that was going to be traveling around and buying this thing. So step by step by step, tourism happens. And I've been to many places in this world myself as a travel journalist, where it is the cultural, artisanal crafts and potteries and things that are drivers of tourism, especially into community tourism, which is, I think, a very important concept in a post-pandemic kind of situation. Another interesting thing that you would note as someone that has been deeply studying archaeology is that eventually nobody's going to remember the taxi driver, but everyone is going to see who did that piece of pottery. That artist's name is going to live on in perpetuity. So in the whole scheme of things, it's something wonderful that women are doing.
Thank you.
So
indeed, one comment more. Indeed, the art of the woman are visible in the community. And I send some photos to Reza, and if it's possible to share, it will be great. And indeed, women are invisible, but their art everywhere is visible. So that make some sound that women are behind with the art. They are speaking, they are communicating with the community. And the world now, for example, recognize this kind of arts that the women produce. And everywhere, for example, in the market, you can find this pottery, and the seller always say to you or explain the detail that this kind of pottery produced by Baluchis woman. The name of Baluchis always with this art, traveling with tourists or in the market or exhibition. So this makes lots of change, and now we're trying to inform women more in this area of Iran that they have done a great job for the community with the art crafts, and their art crafts everywhere is visible, and trying to bring them outside of this exhibition. And they're working, for example, I suggested to the tourism office to this area that leave exhibition in Tehran or in abroad when they happen, sending this woman, planning to this woman to travel and working. And also little girl that they living at the school very early and they married very, very soon. So also they following the role of their mother. And the only section that in the village it's possible that women do some social interaction with each other, just with women. That's exhibition that's have lots of history from the like 7,000 years ago, and you can see the footprint of women. So I published an article that with the pottery we can see footprint of the woman in the community. And with good publisher, Springer accepted and published my chapter. And I think that's this case study is very, very good one. And I'm trying to more working and focus on this area.
Ultimately, when you think of travelers in general all over this world, they are going to see art. They're going to see pottery. That's where we have these huge lineups to go and see the Mona Lisa in Paris. So this is something that definitely is going to be, it's worthwhile now, that's for sure. Yeah, and it definitely will increase.
And indeed, they are doing this production with old instrument, like a traditional way, not with a new instrument. They're doing like a past, and not change happen in this area. And it's still, we're trying to keep it authentic, this production. Thank you very much for your attention. And it's really great pleasure for me to talk here with the presence of Dr. Taleb Rafai. Indeed, he did lots of kindness to me during my stay in UNWTO. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shaker, but I'm not letting you off the hook just yet. It's very interesting what you're saying about the artistic part of this. And I just wonder, since we have you here, if you could just give us a snapshot of women in tourism in Iran right now. There is an industry. It's not like Kuwait, where it's got to be started from ground level. It exists. So what is women's role in it, would you say, at this time?
Indeed, women in Iran, like Isfahan, Tehran, Shiraz, Mashhad, have very, very visible and important role in tourism, in hotel management, and lots of sector that's related to tourism. Women doing great job, and like more than men, they are working and dealing with tourism in Iran. Tour guides, they don't have, and also hotel, restaurant, and lots of complex for tourism. They are working, and not limitation, not differences between man and woman in these cities, because these cities is very in top, and we don't have any gender issues. The only part that we have a problem in Iran, like ethnic groups, that they are in the margin of the country, in the border with Pakistan, Afghanistan, or in very margin area, and the connection between this area to Tehran or different part of Iran is very hard. So they are divided, and they have very less education. So The only part that we have problem in Baluch ethnic groups with women, we have lots of challenge in order to change. So we are in the beginning stage, and the area is not developed very well. So we're trying, and also local community willing to receive tourists. And Baluchi ethnic groups are now all the parliament member, and they emphasize to change the community and for economic and different cultural issues, because in this area we have lots of archaeological sites from the prehistoric, Paleolithic, and the history. So this history we can plan for tourists, because now more they are dealing with border trafficking, man, and some challenge. So and also they are losing their life in trafficking, petrol, drug, or so many things. So we're trying to highlight the role of tourism in this area, and also the government accepted to plan for infrastructure for this area to have very good level of airport in order to find new source of job creation for the local community. So we have lots of things to do. We are just in the beginning, and Dr. Reza Soltani visited that area with me, and he know that this area need lots of source, but we need to plan for this source to convert to tourist product. So we have lots of history, but this kind of is not prepared for tourists to visit. We need a establishment, good hotel. So local people providing homestay and very special accommodation for tourists, and the tourists looking for these kind of things. And indeed, we did a little things, but these things really visible in the Iran, and we should do more in the future with the support of different organizations and international community too.
And how are you doing now post-pandemic? Are you opening up yet? Are things opening up?
Yeah, now in Chabahar, for example, we have tourists from Tehran, because that area, for example, villages, now very less, we have few people. So the people now change their destination. For example, from Tehran, that's very crowded, people, population is there. So they change their destination to village, for example, rural area, and this area is the best for them, and we're trying to protect people from this virus, and also at the same time provide them accommodation and local services. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate all your remarks. And actually, we do have some time. So this might be a good time for all of us to ask questions of each other, or even talk about how things are opening up in your particular area. I'll start with mine. I live half in Toronto, Canada, and half in Palm Springs area, California. And you can imagine where I am right now, California. I've had both of my vaccines, and just about everybody I know here has had both of their vaccines. So you can have dinner indoors or outdoors in the restaurants here. The gyms have reopened. If you didn't know anything was wrong, you wouldn't know anything was wrong, other than the fact that, of course, indoors, people are wearing masks everywhere. Now, on the other hand, I usually go back to Toronto by the end of May. But if I go this time, I have to spend 3 nights in a government-sanctioned hotel, and then another 11 nights at home quarantining. So the 2-week quarantine is fairly something that we're used to, especially in Europe. But this 3-night stay, and it's over $2,000. So you really have to be serious about coming and going. And the reason they're doing that is to discourage people from leaving the country. But for me, it's actually going to be a little bit challenging to get back in. As well, they didn't get delivery of enough vaccines. So now they're trying to give everyone their first shot. They're spacing the second shot by 4 months, which is really terrible. So anyways, it's going to be very tricky, and I'm sure that each of you has a different situation about this. So it's something that we might be able to discuss in terms of how tourism is going to move forward, what women are doing in tourism moving forward, but in a post-pandemic world, which actually I think is a beautiful time for women to shine, because I think we're going to get away from this over-tourism. We're going to have a more personal and perhaps more spiritual look at where we're traveling and why we're traveling, because life has taken on a kind of a different significance. So I would love to hear some views or some questions of some of the speakers that we've had today. Anyone can chime in.
Yes, I would like to add something. I'm settling down right now in Bahrain. So since I came here in October, everything was open. Everything was open, but to go to restaurants or anywhere else, you have to be vaccinated, and you have to get the 2 shots of vaccination. Schools and universities were reopened, and tourism is expected to increase sharply. I read an article 2 or 3 weeks ago. It's from Spain to Bahrain. So tourists around the world will be moving to country which have high regulations, high precautions, and also people are vaccinated. And Bahrain is one of the top 10 countries by the number of vaccinated people, according to the number of inhabitants, which was 1.5 million, and 1/3 of the population is already vaccinated. I'm working hard also, like Abir in Kuwait. I'm working hard here in Bahrain to empower Bahraini tour guides, and especially female tour guides. I'm still in the first step of the ladder, and it will take time, but I have always hope, and I'm very optimistic.
No, that's great to see some hope. Now, I understand that we have Diana McIntyre-Pike with us on this call, and I don't necessarily want to put her on the spot, but she is the head of IIPT in the Caribbean, and her specialty happens to be community tourism. And there's definitely a prediction that community tourism will be far more significant. In fact, just before the pandemic, I think that we were so stuck in over-tourism, wondering what we were going to do about how Venice was filling and all of the popular spots of the world were just too popular and too crowded. And community tourism is a beautiful thing that brings people away into the villages. It helps them be aware of the cultural lifestyle of an area instead of just the focal points. Diana, are you here and willing to say a word or two?
Bea, before Diana speaks, I would like also to add, I'm very happy that she's here. She's also president of the community tourism in Jamaica, and she's one of the first, or probably the first, who has started with her mother over 35 years community tourism. So I think that should be mentioned as well. Thank you.
Yes, very
Hello.
admirable. Hi, Diana.
How are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm on my phone, but that's okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, I just wanted to say that we're moving forward very positively with community tourism in Jamaica and the Caribbean too, with the program that we have called Villages as Businesses. We got a grant from the US Embassy in association with the UWI Open Campus in Jamaica to implement training in entrepreneurship, community tourism entrepreneurship for communities. So we have opened it up beyond that because we have a virtual training now, not face-to-face. And we're getting quite a lot of excitement about it because it's going to include security and protocols for COVID to prepare them so that they can have visitors come, more visitors come when the tourism recovers in Jamaica, which started the process already for summer. So we're very optimistic. But the better news is that we're setting up now the Community Tourism Trust Fund, which will offer loans, low-interest loans of not more than 3%, and grant funding for community projects and businesses. And it's going to be registered in the United States, diaspora-led. We're in a formation stage now. When that comes out, all packages that we have will include a contribution to ComTrust, as we call it. So it's going to be a winner for not just for Jamaica, but for the Caribbean and also eventually the rest of the world, because we want to take it worldwide. So that's the update news. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diana. And yes, I agree. I think it'll be a template for tourism as it rehabs after the pandemic, that's for sure. And it reminds me of what Dr. Shaky was saying too, about the people that are doing crafts and pottery. That is an aspect of community tourism that helps your tourist understand the culture. It celebrates the natural culture and lifestyle of a place. So thank you for coming on impromptu like that, Diana. And does anybody else have any questions of any of the speakers?
I would like also to add that is a Ramadan, so our speakers from the Middle East, I think the time is almost coming for them. So as Talib said, so one more time, Ramadan Kareem, happy Ramadan, and is almost in the evening for them. So they didn't eat and drink all the day, and it is a real courage to come sit here and talk. So that's really great, including Talib and Dr. Shaky, Dr. Al-Rahman, and Dr. Haddad as well. I think.
Yeah, Reza, I think that. Sorry. Yes. I think that Talib is still with us. Yes. Yeah. So just the few minutes, and then I think that he also raised the hand. So eventually he can give some final words. Before, I would like to say to all of you that it's always a pleasure to contribute and support this the channel and the work you are doing. Bea, you rock as always. Reza, we work together almost every day, so it's always great. Taleb, my dear friend, Ramadan Kareem, to you and to all the friends there. The topic was my hello Taleb.
Hello,
And
how are you?
my fine, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Also fasting with you, Taleb.
Very good.
And my dear friend and colleague Rafa, Dr. Rafa, it was amazing. This talk. I would like to remember two things. The first is that the Sustainable Development Goals comprise the goal 8 in particular is related to gender equality, achieving gender equality, and it is important the role of tourism in terms of providing opportunities for new opportunities for education, and entrepreneurship for the women. And this is extremely important. And this link with the second thing, thank you for the kind words in the beginning, there, Bea, in relation to the International Institute for Peace to Tourism. As ambassador of the Institute, I would like to link this conversation with the idea of peace. The idea of peace that cannot be seen as an empty word, peace. This is a word that comprises many meanings. Law, justice, equality. And this is very important. This is why this is very important. Is one of the way we have to go through in order to achieve peace through tourism. So thank you very much. Congratulations to you all, and let's keep working like this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Fabi.
Dr. Rifai, did you have some words for us as well?
I have to caution you. It's 6:30 here, and we have break to fast at 7 o'clock. So I haven't eaten or drank all day. But also, in addition to that, I've just had my second vaccine. So I feel a bit weak. Whatever I say now, please forgive me. But what I want to say is something very important here. I have spent most of my life working in tourism, 20 years of my life. I don't give a damn about tourism. What I care about is what it does to other people's life. That's more important than anything else. So, although when I was Secretary General of UNWTO, we did a research. It proved that 68% of the workforce in tourism is women, 68. Only 17% are in leadership position. But that's not the point. The point is the issue of women is beyond tourism, much more important than tourism itself. The issue of women, as Ms. Rafa Haddad said, very proud to her being from Jordan. And Ms. Ruwahi also, Ms. Fan from China as well. The important thing is that the issue of women has to do with the issue of rights, human rights. That's the important thing. And we are, whether we're Africans or non-African, I'm the patron of the African Tourism Board as well. I may not have the right color skin, but I believe that we all came out of Africa. Africa is an example of discrimination against, like women is discriminated against. So if you're an African and you're a woman, that's a double discrimination. So what I want to say here is, please don't misunderstand me if I say I was born in the right color skin. I may have also been born in the wrong gender category, because I think being a woman is a wonderful thing. We have not done a good job as men. We have ruled this world for 10,000 years now. We don't have a good record to show at all. Women are much better than us in management. Look at all the Prime Minister women in the world. Prime Minister of Finland, Prime Minister of New Zealand. They're doing a great job. Really. They're excellent in management. I believe in that completely. And I think we do a disfavor to them altogether. It's nothing to do with tourism. It has to do with women. Women are wonderful people. And I wish I was a woman. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Those are very
Thank you
powerful.
so much. Thank you.
Very good observations. And all of these concepts are ones that are embraced by IIPT, which is the International Institute of Peace through Tourism, which many of us belong to, but others have said that they're not familiar with it. So I might say at this point that you might look at www.iipt.org, and all the information is there about what it's doing, what it has been doing over the years. And the president and founder, who founded it in the 1970s, is
Louis Damouri.
And he is one of the most approachable people. And I know that he would be very happy to get on the phone or an email and discuss with any of you that are listening about joining, about finding out about the initiatives of Peace Through Tourism. I know it's always been behind everything I do as a travel journalist, revealing the world in all of its beautiful colors and culture. And another thing I mentioned in the rehearsal I'd like to mention here is I am a past president of the Society of American Travel Writers, and our newest committee has become extremely active. And the committee is called DEIA, which stands for Diversity, Equality, Inclusion, and Accessibility. And it's all so that the media, which must be responsible in travel, is aware that travel must be an equal experience for all people, you know, regardless of their gender, color, sexual preferences, whether they're in a wheelchair, making this an equal opportunity experience. So, and a lot of this is covered in IIPT's mandates as well. So
I must say, it's one of the most relevant organizations one can join. One of the most relevant organizations anyone can join, for sure. Thank you so much, Bea. I have to excuse myself, please. Bye.
Thank you very
Happy
much.
Ramadan.
Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you for
Ramadan.
joining.
Bye.
I'd like to also mention that we had another speaker, Dr. Yakako Saito of Japan, who was unable to make it today because she's taking care of her family in a COVID-related situation, but she will be at our next conference in May, which is the third one of Women's Voices in Tourism. All of what you heard, all of the speakers' profiles, everything is on the website, which is www.tourismwebinar.com. So you can listen to this seminar at any time. It's fully recorded. And we've more or less come to the end, I think, unless anybody has some final words.
Maybe Diana wants to say some final words about the women in community tourism or something, or Diana?
Diana is going to be a speaker in one of our future conferences as well.
Sure, yeah.
But we're putting her on the spot today, Reza.
Yeah, so she's not here probably, or she's not hearing
Yeah,
it.
it sounds like she's gone or she'd be back. So
Yeah.
at this time, I would like to give a very warm thank you to Alain Saint-Ange and Kitty Pope and Dr. Rafa Haddad and Dr. Abir Saad Abrumaya, Dr. Daisy Fan, and Dr. Ahmed Sheikhi. And also, I would like to thank Fabio Carboni and Dr. Talib Rafai for joining us, and Reza for all of the energy that you put into this wonderful and dynamic series of seminars.
And thank you, Bea, for what you have done, and such an early morning, always waking up 5:30 a.m. So
Thanks a lot, Bea. Thanks a lot, Reza.
thank you so much. So I think we are at the end. Also, the first part of the Women Voices in Tourism, you can see it on the website. This one will be added by tomorrow as well. The PowerPoint and the profile of the speakers will be permanently there. So each webinar will have its own page, and it will be always there. So I will send you once it's done. Thank you very much. Especially thank you, Bea, for waking up so early, and for all the speakers, and Ramadan Kareem, and have a good dinner, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.